All right, I'm going to continue with the rest of chapter 13, I believe is what we're on. Yeah, chapter 13. So we left off with Conrad saying all that stuff about what they're doing on level 4. Now he's going to continue. Piper's face was deathly white, and she was trembling slightly, and she didn't seem to like that she was on the verge of completely losing it. Conrad took a breath and continued. But the human specimens like you and me, well, we are their greatest challenge. Other creatures only require physical and biological alterations, but with us, with the human animal, an additional layer of difficulty is added because of this, Conrad pointed to his head. The psychological, intellectual, and emotional aspects of the human being make us much more difficult to manage and control. It's taken the researchers a while, but now they understand that to successfully rehabilitate us and create lasting normalcy, they must make us want it, embrace it, and see its value. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And how do they do this? By befriending us, giving us what we want, making us comfortable, and if at all possible, gaining our unwitting complicity in our own demise. Something they accomplish all too easily in most cases. Conrad gave Piper a pointed look, and Piper, filled with shame, looking away miserably. Why had she wanted to believe Dr. Hellion? Why had she said that she wouldn't fly when flying was all that she'd ever loved? It's all very subtle, of course, and their reasoning is flawless and logical. If it didn't make sense, our brains wouldn't accept it, and we wouldn't go along with it. They know if we don't use the ability, we will soon lose it. And they're astute enough to realize that the most effective way of accomplishing this is by distracting our attention and refocusing it onto the normal and mundane. Old Hell has a masterful grasp on the delicate balance between encouragement and gentle persuasion toward normalcy, while at the same time negatively reinforcing any unapproved behavior until all traces of the talent are extinguished altogether. Too firm a hand, and we'll resist and rebel. It's much easier and more effective to distract us and keep us happy and calm. They don't truly teach us anything to keep our brains quiet and inactive. Their rigid schedule is designed to lull us into a stupor, while they silently and secretly go about the real work of killing our talent once and for all. Conrad's words, not to mention all the numbers and diagrams, began pressing in on Piper, and her head started to feel like it was spinning. She held onto the bed to steady herself, while Conrad leapt atop his chair and started pointing to his work on the ceiling. You see, they employ a two-pronged approach. Breaking a subject down mentally is half the battle. The other half requires drugs. And how did they do this, you ask? In the food. The delicious, entirely amazing food that is perfectly tailored to your taste buds is made precisely so that it will mask all of the chemicals they're shoving into it. And they're pumping a lot of chemicals into you each and every day with no mistake. All the while, they carefully observe your reaction to them until they isolate just the right drug that is going to make you a little slower, stop you from thinking quite like you did, maybe even make you mildly happy but extremely docile. As soon as that happens, and they are getting better and faster at it each and every day, you no longer want to use your ability. And at the same time, the psychological balance inside your body alters, never to be the same again. Their methods are simple, effective, and foolproof. One day a kid wakes up and seems to remember that there was once something that they could do, something special, something different, but for the life of them, they can't remember what it is. But they won't mind so much because they've got an incredibly comfortable bed, and their thoughts stretch only as far as their next meal and how good the food will be. And for the most part, they're given anything and everything they ask for, so they figure why fight it. Without actually realizing it, they've sold themselves out for a cushy bed and a raging food addiction. We're like rats in a maze down here, and the only way we'll get out is by being normal. So now I'm realizing why Conrad doesn't eat his food and why they're really pushing, you can't eat anybody else's food. It's because all the food is drugged. Oh my goodness. And it's drugged for each kid's individual talent so that it masks what they're able to do. This is nuts. Piper hadn't realized that she'd stopped breathing somewhere in the middle of Conrad's speech, and suddenly she gasped like a fish pulled out of water. No, she shook her head. No. Are you going to lose it? Because we're on a schedule here, and we really don't have time for you to get into a flap. Sorry to ruin your night and all, comrade, but it's not every day you figure out that folks have got it in for you. Yeah, well, get over it. You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. What? My name's Piper, and I'm from Lowland County. Obviously, she hasn't seen The Wizard of Oz. Right, forget it. Can we go now? Conrad picked up his case for a second time. So that's why you won't eat anything and you're stealing Jasper's food? Everything was suddenly falling into place in Piper's mind. You didn't want to eat the drugs, and Jasper's drugs don't affect you because they're meant for him. Right. Conrad nodded impatiently. Jasper's scheduled to graduate next, and I was trying to prolong it as much as I could to give him a chance to remember his ability. Clearly, it's not working. Piper was glad she was sitting down. Not Jasper. Afraid so. They've got you good and hopped up, too. Obviously, they've hit on just the right chemical combination because you're walking slowly and you've got this dazed look in your eyes. If you stay, it will only be a matter of time. It will? Now that she thought about it, Piper had been feeling very sedated and slow. She had chalked it up to being relaxed, but now it was all clear to her. You're right. So you were picking on me because I needed you to wake up and the drug was slowing you down. I needed you to figure out the truth fast, and I had to push you a little bit. Dr. Hellion's taken a particular interest in you, and it's dangerous to your health. From the moment you arrived and I discovered that you were a flyer, I knew there existed the possibility of escape, and that changed everything. But what about the others? Do they know? Piper had a million questions. No, I tried telling them, but it doesn't work. They won't believe you, or if they're too firmly hooked into Hellion's reality, the shock of the truth will drive them crazy, like Bella. Bella? That's what happened to Bella? I tried my best with her, but she couldn't take it. Conrad hated defeat of any kind. But can't we do something for her now? I mean, if she was to listen and understand, couldn't she get her ability back? Conrad shook his head. She's past the point of no return. That point is different for everyone, but once they make you give it up, I mean really, truly give it up, you won't ever get your ability back. Bella gave it up. You could see it in her eyes. The sheer tragedy of losing Bella and her extraordinary gift was almost more than Piper could bear. Bella's light had shone so brightly. Undoubtedly, she'd been destined to bring so much joy and beauty to the world. Instead, now she lay gray and lifeless, a fate the silver giraffe was being threatened with at any moment. And what of all the other nameless, faceless children who suffered a similar fate? What was to become of them? And what could be done about it? Conrad didn't want to give Piper any more time to dwell on the news or to get lost in her thoughts. All right, so now that that's sorted out, I need to know if you've ever carried anything or anyone when you've flown. Can you estimate a comfortable weight range? And I'd need an approximate flying distance before you'll require rest. But why? Why do they want to do this to us? Conrad swallowed hard and reminded himself to be patient. Because they consider us dangerous and they can't control us. The Mustafa twins could start a tsunami in their spare time. Daisy can lift a tank without breaking a sweat, and Myrtle can run so fast they don't even have instruments capable of clocking her. Unless we're normal, there's no place for us in their world, and that's why they've got us locked up down here. So we escape and get help? Is that the plan? What help? No one will help us. If we ever tried to come back, they'd capture us, and that would be the end of it. No, we've got to get out of here and hide where they'll never find us. But the others, what'll happen to them? Piper thought of Violet and her gentle kindness and Lily's mischievous pranks, not to mention the giraffe tied up in a darkened room on the 4th level. Conrad shrugged, then sighed. There's nothing we can do. They'll have to stay here. It's better that 2 get out than none. We can't do anything for them. You mean just leave them here and do nothing? Listen, I've done all the calculations, and there are little to no statistically significant probabilities that we can get them out. More people generate more variables, which creates more risk. It's too dangerous. Conrad didn't even want to try and explain all the mathematical work he'd done on organizing this escape. If Piper was having difficulty comprehending what to him was an obvious and plain situation, there was no way she was going to be able to absorb higher mathematical reasoning. This is the only way. I don't believe you. Even if you're right, I don't care. I won't leave him behind, Piper was adamant. There's got to be another way. There isn't. Conrad's patience was at its end. He picked up his case for the last time. Now let's get out of here. Before Conrad could reach Piper, she shot off of the floor and flew out of the window, hovering just out of range. Conrad rushed forward. What are you doing? Get out of sight before someone sees you. I can't do it, Conrad. I just can't leave without him. Violet's my friend, and all those animals and things I saw on the 4th level, they nearly broke my heart. Where am I going to hide when I won't... Where am I going to hide that I won't remember them? Conrad didn't have an answer. Piper knew that she might not be as smart as Conrad, and she even knew that she was probably in shock and wasn't thinking straight. But even so, she knew that she couldn't live out the rest of her days knowing that she'd left the others behind. Either we all leave together or we don't leave at all, and that's the end of it. If you're such a genius, you'll just have to figure out a plan that works. I'm telling you that I can't. Nothing will work. Piper, we're not some comic book characters with happy endings that all mapped out for us. Half these kids have got abilities that are all but useless for the purposes of mounting an escape, or for anything else for that matter. All the same, I reckon you'll find a way to make it all work out. Piper floated back and forth. I knew you were going to be a problem. I'm not aiming to cause you problems, Conrad. The way I see it, we've got no one but each other right now, and so we'd best figure a way to get along. Piper started to fly back to her room. Over her shoulder, she said, You'll think up a real good plan. Don't you worry yourself. I'm going to help out too. Piper? Help him? Think up a plan? If Conrad wasn't worried before, he was now. That's where I'm going to pause.